Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. I'm also an enthusiastic flight simmer for the last maybe 12 years by now. Today we're going to talk about the next in my series of how to make your flying more realistic. And the simple answer for today's topic is going to be flying online. It doesn't matter which network you choose, if it's VATSIM, IVAO or Pilot Edge, or maybe another network that I don't even know about, but flying online really is the one thing, probably the biggest thing, how to make your flight simulation more realistic. My personal network of choice is VATSIM because initially it just had the better audio codec, so everything sounded a little bit more realistic, but there is so much more nowadays that makes VATSIM my network of choice. Let's go over it real quick. Many of you have shown great interest in the air traffic control add-ons that I have covered on my channel, namely FSHOT, and many others have also given suggestions to Pilot to ATC and also some other ATC add-ons. Now, there are some very good ATC add-ons out there, but nothing gets even close to what VATSIM can do or what any online network can do to your flying. So, air traffic control isn't just something that's pre-programmed and something that shows the low fidelity that software can do. Even in real life, they are not able to use computers to replace air traffic controllers, and most certainly neither are we. Now, there are a lot of opportunities on flying on such online networks, and I'll just briefly go over what is most important for you. So, only approximately 10 to a maximum of 15% of flight simmers are actually using the online networks. And that means that there are like 85 to 90% of flight simmers not flying on any online network. Well, imagine everybody. Microsoft Flight Simulator has sold like 10 million copies, of which 6 million are approximately actively using the program. So imagine 6 million people flying around the world on the online networks. Also, that would of course raise more interest from controllers, so that we'd probably have a lot of air traffic controllers online. But hold on a moment, we actually have a lot of air traffic controllers online already. So, of course there are going to be departures for you where you won't have ATC online, but there are weekly events in most countries where the airports are getting staffed up. For example, in Germany, there is an event almost every day except for Saturday. And big airports like London Heathrow, Frankfurt, New York, they are often staffed in the afternoon or evening around the times where people are actually flying. So, let's quickly talk about joining the networks though, because that is, as far as I recognize, the biggest burden for many of you to join an online network. Am I going to be able to understand what the air traffic controllers want from me? Am I going to be able to execute their orders? Do I have my aircraft under control good enough? Do I speak enough English? That's all questions that many of you will be asking yourselves. And the honest answer to that is, you don't need to be a professional pilot in order to use an online network. You can join up initially as an observer if you like to, and just listen to the frequencies, listen to what's going on. And initially it is most certainly a learning curve to get into this, but there are great training organizations available for those online networks. In VATSIM, for example, the division that's responsible for Germany has their own pilot training network, and in that network they have mentors who will help everybody who is requesting help to get going on the network. Also, there are great training documents available everywhere, and most importantly, it doesn't matter if you mess up. So What do I mean with that? VATSIM is a training environment. Just look at the top corner over here. VATSIM. Aviate, educate, communicate. The focus here is on the educate. VATSIM is a learning environment, so it isn't a problem if you are not able to totally understand everything that's going on. There are certain basics that you have to be able to do, like fly a heading, fly an altitude, fly an airspeed, or fly direct to a waypoint. That you need to be able to do. But let's be totally honest, this is not the very hard and difficult thing for most of you. Most of you will be able to enter a flight plan in the FMC and fly that flight plan. If you aren't, have a look at my tutorial videos and I am going to explain you how to do it in them. Now, when it comes down to air traffic control, then of course it is a little bit demanding initially to understand all the different dialects and all the different accents of people everywhere around the world, but air traffic control is using standard phraseology, so the basic commands you are going to get are more or less the same. Like, in every country in the world, when you get a takeoff clearance, they'll say cleared for takeoff. In every country in the world, when they want you to descend, they will say descend. Now, of course there are different versions of it, like when ready, descend, or descend to reach a level at a certain waypoint. Now, these are things that you should familiarize yourself with, and these are things that the air traffic controllers will want you to be able to do after a certain while. But when you start off very fresh on the network, then it is important that you are willing to learn. But it is not required that you own a type rating in order to actually be able to be allowed to fly on the network. Being a VATSIM controller myself, I can tell you that the vast majority of people will probably not have more knowledge than you currently watching this video. But they just took the plunge, and of course it takes a little while to get into it, and of course you should maybe not start by flying through the biggest events, but pick yourself an airport where there is air traffic control online and where there is not a lot of traffic, and start over there. Now, when you start practicing on the online networks, you should have read like some basic introduction documents giving you some basic knowledge of how to actually do some radio communications. So you shouldn't call a controller like, hello, I want to start my flight, but you should call them with a more or less correct phraseology, like Frankfurt delivery, Lufthansa 123, request IFR clearance. So that phrase was not 100% correct as per the Aeronautical Information publication, but the phrase gets you where you want to go. And if you are able to follow along like that and initially get going on the network, then you are going to build up confidence, and as you fly along you are going to hear what the other people are doing, and that is going to get you into the right direction. So, most important message I'm trying to leave here is, don't be afraid of starting to fly online. Once you are into it, it is such a different world. You are not going to recognize that you have actually been flight simming for years and years without using the online networks previously. I remember when I did my first online flight after maybe 2 years of using Flight Simulator, and afterwards I used to be a schoolboy on those days, and after I did the first flight with the help of a friend of mine who was using the network for a longer while, I sat in school and I was like, can I get home now? And when I was home, where is air traffic control online? Can I do a flight maybe? And it just is so much better. Also, VATSIM hosts regular first wings events, which basically are events where there are mentors available for everybody and where air traffic control knows that the pilots who are going to fly on those events are going to be newbies, and air traffic control is going to be there to help you as well. So Those first Wings events are a very good start in the network, and they do happen regularly. I believe every 2 weeks, but don't quote me on that number. So that's a very good way to get started on the network. And when you build up experience, you can start going into bigger airports or flying on actual events and just getting the whole experience. Now, if you're asking yourself where to start, just go on vatsim.net, click the green Get Started with Vatsim button, create an account, and initially just log in somewhere. Don't log in on a runway, choose a gate for that, please. So log in at a gate and just listen to the frequencies and listen to what's going on. And you're very surely going to notice a certain pattern of which things are said and how things are going to happen. Maybe just take an evening or two just listening to what's going on in the networks, and then later on get going by actually trying a flight yourself. Now, it is very much recommended that you are going to print out some of the help documentation that you are going to find, and then consider signing up for one of the training organizations. Everything within the Vatsim environment is totally free of charge, so it doesn't cost you anything to try it out. Now, this is probably going to be the one greatest change to your flight simulation experience that you are ever going to have, stepping into the online networks. With this said and done, thank you very much for your attention, and I am really looking forward to see you in the virtual skies on one of the networks. Personally, you're going to find me on Vatsim, but if Vatsim doesn't suit you, check out the other networks as well. IVAO is the other big network, and then we have Pilot Edge, which is a paid service. However, they do offer guaranteed ATC in the California area, if I'm not totally mistaken, for about 15 hours per day. So, thank you very much for your attention. If you like my channel, I would really appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link that you can find in the video description below. Until then, I'm looking forward to see you all in the virtual skies. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a good morning, noon, afternoon, evening, night, whatever it is when you are currently watching this.